Welcome back to Kleppers Corner. Today in history, the only show where we time travel without needing flux capacitors, DeLoreans, or Elon Musk's permission. Today we land on October 29th, a day that managed to do more emotional damage to America's wallet than any ex ever could. Black Tuesday, 1929. Segment 1, Black Tuesday, 1929, when the Roaring Twenties finally went silent. The Roaring Twenties were the TikTok of their time, all jazz, champagne, and irrational confidence that this party would never end. The Dow Jones was rising faster than a politician's excuses, and everyone wanted in. Farmers, mechanics, even your barber was buying stocks on margin. Basically, buy now, pay later for people who thought the good times were eternal. If you ever thought crypto bros were new, imagine 1929 dudes in suspenders yelling, "Buy Radio Corp, it's the future." Then came Tuesday. And not just any Tuesday, the Tuesday that made your great-grandpa invent depression before it was a meme. Investors dumped stocks faster than influencers deleting old tweets. The ticker tape lagged by hours, meaning people were watching their money disappear in slow motion. When it was over, $14 billion in value had evaporated. That's Elon after buying Twitter levels of regret. And the fallout? Banks failed, breadlines formed, and the economy face-planted so hard it left a crater that lasted a decade. America learned that maybe, just maybe, buying stocks with imaginary money isn't a sustainable economic plan. But hey, at least they didn't have NFTs. Segment 2, 1969. The internet says lo, and behold. Exactly 40 years after the crash, October 29th, 1969, humans did something that changed everything. A UCLA computer scientist sent the first ever internet message. It was supposed to say log in, but the system crashed after the first two letters, leaving only LO. So yes, the first words of the internet were LO. Not LOL, not WYD, not even send feet pics, just LO. Which, if you think about it, feels appropriately biblical. Like, lo and behold, the chaos of comment sections shall follow. The system was built by the U.S. Department of Defense, trying to make a communication network that could survive a nuclear war. Instead, they created something far more dangerous: Facebook. ARPANET's creators wanted resilience, not rage posts. They just didn't anticipate their invention would lead to your uncle sharing conspiracy memes from Freedom Patriot Grandma News. So on this day, a UCLA programmer accidentally launched humanity's greatest tool and greatest curse. From LO came LOL cats, OnlyFans, and arguments about pineapple on pizza. Maybe the system crashing after two letters was divine intervention, trying to warn us. Segment 3, 1863, the birth of the Red Cross, turning chaos into compassion. Let's rewind even further to October 29th, 1863. Europe was still figuring out how to wage war with maximum destruction and minimum empathy. Basically, every century ever. But one Swiss businessman, Henry Dunant, witnessed the horrors of the Battle of Solferino and said, "What if, hear me out, we didn't let people bleed out like extras in a bad war movie?" His radical idea: nations should train volunteers in peacetime to help any wounded soldier in wartime, friend or foe. This led to the formation of the International Committee of the Red Cross, and soon after, the First Geneva Convention. So, October 29th became the day humanity said, maybe we should have rules about not bayoneting medics. It was the moral upgrade patch for Civilization 1.0. The Red Cross established that even in the middle of human cruelty, compassion isn't optional. A noble idea that, sadly, we still treat like optional DLC in world affairs. Dunant later won the first ever Nobel Peace Prize, proof that one person's outrage can rewrite the rules of war. Though if he saw the 20th century coming, you might have just said, never mind, delete humanity. Segment 4, Empires Fall, Republics Rise. The Ottoman Goodbye Tour. October 29th, 1914. The Ottoman Empire, known affectionately as the sick man of Europe, decided to skip its meds and join World War I. Bad idea. Their navy, mostly German ships, attacked Russia, dragging the empire into the war. It was like watching your elderly landlord suddenly sign up for a cage match. The result? 4 years later, the empire was gone. The Middle East was redrawn by people with rulers and zero local knowledge, and history got a new series of problems we still haven't unsubscribed from. But exactly 9 years later, on October 29th, 1923, Turkey flipped the script. Mustafa Kemal Ataturk declared the Republic of Turkey, officially closing the book on 600 years of sultans and harems. He turned the empire's ruins into a secular, modern state and introduced reforms that made France look old-fashioned. It's poetic symmetry. Same date, same land, two completely opposite destinies. From imperial collapse to national rebirth. You couldn't script it better, though Netflix is probably trying. Segment 5, 1956, the Suez Crisis. Britain and France learn they're not in charge anymore. Fast forward to 1956, October 29th again, and the British Empire is having its midlife crisis. Egypt's president, Gamal Abdel Nasser, nationalized the Suez Canal, and Britain and France said, "Excuse me, that's ours. We built that with colonial arrogance." So they teamed up with Israel and invaded. It went about as well as a group project where everyone's lying about who's doing the work. Eisenhower told them to knock it off. The Soviets threatened nukes, and the UK economy nearly imploded. Britain and France realized they weren't superpowers anymore. They were more like super annoyed powers. The Suez Crisis was the funeral for European imperialism and the birth of Cold War geopolitics. It was the moment America looked around and said, "Guess we're the responsible adult now." Spoiler, we weren't. Segment 6, 1787. Mozart's Don Giovanni premieres in Prague. October 29th, 1787. A good day to be cultured. Mozart premiered Don Giovanni in Prague, combining comedy, tragedy, and supernatural vengeance into one perfect opera. It's like if Seinfeld, Hamlet, and The Conjuring had a baby. The crowd loved it. Mozart was like the Taylor Swift of the Enlightenment, a genius whose fans memorized every note and whose haters were just jealous. The story of Don Giovanni, the arrogant playboy dragged to hell, still hits hard. It's a reminder that actions have consequences. Unless you're a billionaire, then apparently not. 2 centuries later, people still perform it, proving that while markets crash and empires crumble, art survives. Unless it's NFTs again, then it just dies twice. Segment 7, 1941, the Kaunas Massacre, humanity's deepest abyss. The same date that gave us Mozart's masterpiece also bore one of history's darkest chapters. On October 29th, 1941, over 9,000 Jews in Lithuania were executed in the Great Action at Kaunas. Families separated, children killed, all under the Nazi regime's monstrous logic. It's sobering to realize how easily civilization slips into barbarism. The same Europe that gave us Mozart also produced death camps within a century. It's the grim reminder that progress is fragile and morality has to be defended, not assumed. We can't joke this one away. The best we can do is remember and refuse to let dehumanization ever sound normal again. Segment 8, 1998, South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Report. Fast forward to October 29th, 1998. Nelson Mandela receives South Africa's Truth and Reconciliation Commission report. 5 volumes of pain, confession, and forgiveness. It detailed decades of apartheid crimes and gave perpetrators amnesty if they told the truth. Critics said it was too soft. Supporters said it was revolutionary. But it showed the world that healing sometimes requires truth louder than punishment. The report wasn't perfect, but it was honest. And honesty in politics is about as rare as bipartisan hugs. So yes, on October 29th, humanity once again looked at its own scars and tried, at least, to clean them. Segment 9, 1998, again. John Glenn returns to space. Same day, same year, different kind of courage. John Glenn, the first American to orbit Earth, went back into space at age 77 because apparently retirement was boring. When he launched aboard the Space Shuttle Discovery, he became the oldest human to go to space, a living bridge between the dawn of the space age and the internet era. While he orbited Earth, Americans down below watched the mission live in the first ever high-definition television broadcast. Think about that. The same day humanity looked back on its moral failures, we also looked outward to the stars and upward in high definition. October 29th, the day of both confession and exploration. Segment 10, October 29th, birthdays. The artists and architects of influence. Born this day in 1897, Joseph Goebbels, the Nazi propaganda minister who turned lies into a national religion. Born this day in 1938, Ellen Johnson Sirleaf, Africa's first elected female president, who rebuilt Liberia from civil war. Proof that October 29th births both the architects of darkness and the champions of light. Also celebrating birthdays, Bob Ross, who made painting look easy and kindness look powerful. His happy little trees are still more uplifting than any TED Talk. Richard Dreyfuss, whose acting in Jaws made us all afraid of water. And Winona Ryder, who made Beetlejuice and Stranger Things part of two different cultural renaissances. October 29th apparently breeds icons and moral lessons. From propaganda to peace, from horror to art. It's a day that embodies the whole messy range of being human.